Hey everyone, hope all is well. Welcome to the Loft, and let's jump in to my dividend portfolio and see what's changed over the last week, as we do on every Tuesday. And as always, do remember to like the video, as it really does help get this out so that more people can see it. And let's jump in and see what's happened with the value change. So last week we sat at a value of £2,970 with a return of £374. That's equivalent to a return of around 14.45%. Moving through the week, we can move on to see that I now have a portfolio value of £2,916, which is a return of 12%, valued at around £321. So over the last week, I've dropped around £50 in actual monetary return and more than 2% in percentage return. If we jump over and look at the VOO ETF by Vanguard, we can see that this is roughly the same as my portfolio, with the ETF being down roughly around 2% as well. Looking over to the buys and sells for the last week, this one there's not that much activity as I didn't buy or sell any shares over the last week. I do have £36 sitting in the account ready to be spent, but I currently haven't used it as of yet. So we're going to be skipping by what I've bought and what I've sold because there isn't any, but do make sure to subscribe so that you can see what I spend my £36 on over the next couple of weeks. So not much going on. Let's jump over and look at my dividends. And in regards to dividends, we start on the 15th with the first payment coming from Walgreens Boots for a total value of 28p, and that was for the one full share that I hold. This was then followed relatively quickly by Yum Brands for a total return of 2 pennies, and this was for the 0.05 of a share that I did hold, but I have since sold, so I no longer hold that position. On the 16th, we had a company in the form of 3M who paid over 27p for the 0.3 of a share that I hold. Moving on from there, we then have the 17th, where we had a few of my monthly contributors and the companies that pay monthly sending over some money. This was starting with Main Street Capital, who sent over their 62p for the 5 shares that I hold. Then McDonald's, who is another company that I have since sold. They sent over 1p for the 0.01 of a share I held on the ex-dividend date. We also have Realty Income, the well-known monthly payer. They sent across 43p for me holding a total of 3 shares. Pembina Pipeline joined in. They sent their monthly payment of 42p, and this was for the total of 4 shares that I hold. And rounding off the day and the week entirely, we have Stag Industrials. They sent over a total of 29p, and that was for me holding 4 shares. And overall, this brings my total weekly dividends to around £2.30. And unfortunately, that means that I'm roughly £7 short of my monthly target for this month in regards to dividends. So we'll have to see and hope that I get a larger income of payments coming over the next week or so. Now, let's take a quick bit of time just to go over and look at what companies are my best return and my worst return, as well as what companies have moved in what directions over the last week. So jumping in, my best return, currently in the form of actual money returned to me, is Main Street Capital with a return of around £28, and they are followed relatively closely by Carnival, and that is a return of £23. Looking over to the worst return, so the companies that have lost me the most amount of money, this week again it is AT&T, who are currently down over £7. So overall, no real change. We've still got Main Street Capital as my best performing stock and AT&T as my worst performing stock. So let's jump over and see what companies have increased the most and decreased the most over the last week. And we can see that, as expected with the value drop of my portfolio, a large portion of the companies I hold have had a drop in value over the last week or so. So we can see that the main droppers are well over 8% that they've dropped, and these include Walgreens Boots, Eastman Chemical, and Wells Fargo, as I said, all being down over 8%. If we look over to the much smaller list of companies that have actually grown over the last week, we can see that the main change actually comes from Apple, and they're up over 2%, so it's nice to see them counteracting it, but it is a very short list of stocks that have grown over the week, so that's not exactly good news. So that is it for my weekly update. As always, if there's anything you want to see included in the weekly updates, do let me know down in the comments below, and I will look to add them if possible. If you're interested, I have now hopefully worked out a new format for video reviews on reviewing companies and looking at their finances. So if you're interested in that, do make sure to subscribe. Let me know what companies you'd like me to look at first down in the comments, and if possible, I will start with them. As always, if you wanted to see how my portfolio has developed over time, I would suggest checking out this playlist here, and it will go through showing what I've bought, what I've sold, and how it's developed. And thank you for stopping by. Until next time, remember to invest, save, and subscribe.